that's why I bring it. Hey, there's... And then we're pretty much done.
I've enjoyed it.
You know what? We don't need it now. Okay. I know. You probably want to get it. It's okay. You know why?
Yeah.
I don't think the sound.
Get it.
Whoa. Hey, you got sound on. Maybe put it in front. Okay, yeah, I will.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I want all the speakers behind us. I want the speakers behind me. I need all the speakers. Busy? We're going to go live now. No, the speakers behind me with the shot.
Okay.
Yeah. Is everybody? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Securities and Exchange Commission, otherwise known as the scene of the crime. I'm Nan Vandersteel, and I'm the co-founder of the American Made Foundation and American Made Action, along with my wonderful partner, Maureen Steele. I also host Steele News, which is streaming this press conference today, where my work has been focusing on the regulatory failure, institutional corruption, and accountability following a paper trail where agencies charged with protecting the public failed to do so. Maureen is an incredible writer. She is here today as a documentarian to cover the stories of the humanitarian crisis. What happened to the people because of this institution we're standing in front of. While I'm here to report on what the regulators did, what rules were broken, and who benefited, Maureen will gather those very important stories on the human cost, the families, the veterans, the retirees, and small business owners whose lives were disrupted and destroyed by what you're about to hear. Together, these two perspectives will give you the full truth. We're standing here in front of the Securities and Exchange Commission for a reason. We are here because by their own words, by their own documents, and their own communications, the SEC and FINRA engaged in conduct that enabled and then concealed a scheme that defrauded tens of thousands of investors in a stock that never should have been allowed to trade in the first place. This didn't happen by accident. Let me explain how I became involved. On December 8th, I received a call from an MMTLP investor. That call was not about market risk or a bad trade. It was about frozen assets, missing shares, regulators refusing transparency, and a system that appeared to be protecting itself instead of the public. That call made it clear this was not an isolated market event. It was another chapter in a much larger pattern of regulatory capture, agency corruption, and Americans being systemically stripped of their rights and their property. Now let's ground this in facts. From 2014 to 2022, a series of corporate actions involving Torchlight Energy, metamaterials, and NextBridge hydrocarbons unfolded. In 2014, Torchlight executives identified unexplained discrepancies in short interest. In June of 21, Torchlight Energy issued a non-tradable Series A preferred dividend share in connection with its own reverse merger with metamaterials. This dividend was intended solely as a placeholder for the eventual spin-off of legacy oil and gas assets, and that was explicitly not portrayed. Despite the issuer's explicit intent that the Series A preferred dividend not trade, a broker-dealer, not the issuer, submitted a Form 211 to FINRA requesting over-the-counter OTC quotations. FINRA approved that request, assigned a ticker, enabling public OTC trading in security that was never authorized by the issuer, never registered by the SEC, and structurally incapable of a lawful settlement. Under SEC Rule 15C-211, FINRA had a duty to reject quotation of a restricted dividend issued solely as a placeholder. Instead, FINRA allowed the trading to proceed for more than a year. From 21 to 22, MMTLP experienced persistent failures to deliver. 58 consecutive days followed by another 75 consecutive days. Let me translate this into plain English for those of you that don't understand financial jargon. When someone sells a stock, they're legally required to deliver the shares to the buyer within 2 business days. A failure to deliver means that didn't happen. An occasional failure can occur, but when a security shows dozens of failures to deliver day after day for months, that is one of the strongest indicators that shares are being sold without being borrowed or without existing at all. Commonly known as naked short selling. In MMTLP's case, this is a dividend that was never intended to trade and could not be borrowed. Those persistent failures to deliver were red flag regulators could not ignore. In November of 22, the SEC approved a spin-off of the reverse merger to a company called NextBridge Hydrocarbons, established December 12, 2022 as the final trading day for MMTLP. That approval meant anyone who legitimately owned MMTLP at the close of trading was entitled to receive shares of the NextBridge Hydrocarbons spinoff. When FINRA halted trading early on December 9th, that final share reconciliation never occurred, leaving investors frozen and the company with an unbalanced shareholder ledger. In December 5th of 2022, FINRA internally flagged concerns of potential fraud related to that naked short positions and requested blue sheet data. FINRA ultimately altered the established trading timeline and contradicted the SEC approved perspective rather than rejecting the public rule under Rule 6490. FINRA imposed what is known as an extraordinary event. It's a U3 halt, freezing more than 65,000 investors, preventing short positions from being closed and delivering an unbalanced ledger to a non-trading private company. These positions remain unresolved today. Why are we here? These are FINRA's own words. They describe its mission this way, and I quote, this is on their website, FINRA's mission is to protect investors and safeguard the integrity of our vibrant capital markets to ensure that everyone can invest with confidence. FINRA says it writes and enforces rules, protects information, provides transparency, and returns money to harmed investors. Yet in the case of MMTLP, FINRA did the opposite. Instead of protecting investors, they enabled unauthorized trading, ignored mounting settlement failures, issued conflicting corporate actions, and ultimately halted trading in a way that protected short positions while trapping the good American and worldwide investors. FINRA is a private, member-funded, self-regulatory organization. They're not even a government agency. Its board includes industry members from Wall Street, whose firms had direct exposure to MMTLP at the time of the halt. That conflict matters. Why was this U3 halt so illegal? Well, FINRA attempted to justify its action under Rule 6490. But Rule 6490 does not authorize what FINRA did. Rule 6490 doesn't allow FINRA to halt trading to resolve settlement failures, in other words, protect Wall Street because they sold something they didn't own. It doesn't cancel or neutralize executed trades. It doesn't eliminate counterparty obligations. It doesn't convert unsettled shares into non-transferable positions. It's not supposed to shield brokers, market makers, or clearing firms from buy-ins or even override the SEC regulations show. Regulations show, SHO, is the SEC rule that prohibits selling shares short unless they can be borrowed and delivered. In MMTLP, that rule was repeatedly violated for months without enforcement. In MMTLP, In MMTLP, the issuer action had already occurred. The settlement obligations already existed. Counterparties were identifiable. The halt prevented forced closeouts of broker-dealers and market makers that had sold shares they didn't possess, shielding them from mandatory buy-ins under Regulation Show. As a result, investors who unknowingly purchased short or synthetic shares, believing they were buying legitimate equity, were left holding positions that could not be reconciled or delivered. In the broader context, this is not unique to MMTLP. This was seen with GameStop, with AMC, with Bed Bath & Beyond. Devin Nunes, the CEO of Trump Media and Technology Group, has publicly referenced MMTLP in warnings about abusive naked short selling and regulatory failure. Naked short selling distorts equities, undermines commodities like silver, and drains value from the real economy while regulators issue fines, call it enforcement, and allow institutions to keep their ill-gotten gains. So why does this matter? Because what happened to MMTLP investors was not market risk. It was a failure of duty, a conflict of interest, and based on FOIA-released communications, coordination between regulators and the very firms they're supposed to oversee. I am here to report the regulatory facts. Maureen, my co-founder, is here to meet and gather your stories on the human cost. Together, you're going to get the full story. And before I transition to speakers, I want to recognize one of the thousands of special peoples and families harmed by this irregular U3 halt. The Zdonek family reached out to me immediately after I started talking about MMTLP. I received a Christmas card, a drawing, and a letter from the family. And I also received this fantastic dog tag representative of everybody in the MMTLP family, and I wear it every single day as a reminder. I want to show you what this beautiful little girl, 8-year-old Ava, has drawn, and I've gotten several pictures from her. But this is a child with a brother and a wonderful family, Jay and Heather Zadanek, whose family has been absolutely devastated by the amount of money they lost. And their children, at their young ages of 8, understand the calamity that this has caused. This is affecting families all over the world, but we know of 65,000 Americans, and that's what we know of. And we know of that because of the internet. We know of that because of social media. The MMTLP family is one like I've never experienced on the internet. This group of people are organized, they're determined, they're lawful, and they're doing what we all should be doing. It's their civic duty, and they are governing. They're coming together and they're holding the regulators responsible for their completely unlawful actions, the ignorance of their own statutory law, and the fact that they've ruined lives to protect the people on Wall Street who stole from the investors. Imagine walking into a bank and stealing $1 million, and when you get out, somebody comes up and says, "Shame on you. If you pay me $100 in a fine, you can get off scot-free." Wouldn't you do that trade every single day? That's what Wall Street did to MMTLP, and it's going to stop. So without further ado, I understand we had some technical issues in the beginning, and I apologize about that, but I want to just, recap a little bit, because this MMTLP story, just for the folks that couldn't hear in the beginning, involves going back to 2014 and 2 companies that decided to merge, and when they did, and did a reverse merger, they spun out a Series A dividend called MMTLP. And that dividend was positioned for those members who owned MMTLP stock to get a share of a company called NextBridge Hydrocarbons, which was coming from the reverse merger. And when NextBridge Hydrocarbons filed their securities, their S1 license or their S1 paperwork with the SEC, the market makers, Wall Street, the broker-dealers got together and said, "Oh my goodness, we have sold so many fake shares of MMTLP in the last year and made millions or billions of dollars doing it, that there's no way they can get those fake shares to transfer to the new NextBridge Hydrocarbons spin-out." And they were going to get caught with their pants down in naked short selling, illegal. So they petitioned through their own trade association, FIF. They sent emails, and we have copies of those emails, basically explaining, hey, we have naked short sold this particular ticker, we're going to get caught. So the SEC held up the S1 filing, because what the S1 filing was going to do, it was going to request all the shares of MMTLP to come home under the own transfer agent of the new company coming out, NextBridge Hydrocarbons, and that transfer agent would be able to match up the existing shares to a new NextBridge Hydrocarbon share. But because so many synthetic fake shares were sold, there was no way to do that. So the Wall Street companies petitioned the SEC, and we have the email, to stop that S1. That is what's going on in this institution right here. That is not representative of you. That is not protecting you. So I'd like to turn this over now to our next speaker, because standing behind me are victims of the MMTLP fiasco, and standing in front of me is the MMTLP Army. It's the most exceptional group of people I've ever seen. They are truly the government of this country, and they're doing it efficiently, lawfully, and frankly quite beautifully. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It brings tears to my eyes. I'd like to introduce Michael, AME on X, to come up and stand with me now and give us his story.
All right, it's great to be here among all these amazing people. For anyone who doesn't know, has never even heard of MMTLP, you might. Where trucks go by. So for anyone who hasn't heard about MMTLP, you might be tempted to think like, oh, this is just a random stock. Who cares? Companies disappear all the time. But it's actually not true. This affects everyone, right? Most people are out there working hard, and we're told to build a 401k, right? And for example, there was a switch between when you used to get annuities when you retired, and they switched that to 401ks, and there was a lot of media to try and say that was a great thing, but really it opened up the door for a lot of fraud. And what you see now with this MMTLP group and other investors like me, I actually am not an MMTLP shareholder. I've just found that they're fighting the same good fight as I am, and so I stand shoulder to shoulder with them. But the people to get to know people in these different stock communities like MMTLP, Bed Bath & Beyond, GameStop, to hear those individual stories, because it's something that's unbelievable. We kind of expect that the SEC and these different regulatory bodies are doing their job, because we go out and we do our job. We get fired if we don't do our job, right? But for them, if they don't do their job and they help criminals get away, they get a cushy job after they leave here, right? They go work for some hedge fund and make lots of money, right? So the thing is for my story, for instance, I had been working hard, and I was working on a project, and I had a little bit of money. I wanted to I was like, you know what? While I'm working on this, I'm just gonna, hopefully I'm gonna have this money work for me in the background. I bought a stock that I was really familiar with back in 2022 as Intel, and I was surprised to find out like a week later it was announced that they were gonna get billions of dollars from the government. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then the stock just tanked. And I called one of my friends from finance, and I was like, wait, what just happened? Wouldn't that be like good news? Like the company got more money. And he, his answer didn't really make sense. So I started doing my own research and more research. And then, fast forward some time, I was trying to evaluate different companies, and the CEO of Bed Bath & Beyond came out, right? And we all know Bed Bath & Beyond. They were the biggest retailer for home goods. They were doing billions and billions of dollars of revenue. And she came out and said, we have a turnaround plan. We're going to reduce our store footprint. We're going to up our internet portion of our business. And I started doing some calculations. I was like, it's at like 35 cents right now. Compared to these other companies that are in a similar situation, it could be worth $6 or $7. There's a very reasonable evaluation to make. Similarly with MMTLP, right? During COVID, people stopped driving, and gas prices went through the floor. And a lot of oil companies suffered, and people were smart and keyed into that. They're like, I'm going to buy these different oil companies. Some people bought different ones, and these people bought MMTLP. That was a really smart decision. The difference is they didn't know that there was going to be a level of collusion like unfathomable against them specifically, because they thought that we couldn't fight back. They thought that we would just move on, and little they know, 3 years later, here we'd be. So the thing is that we've been each one of these communities has been doing the work that the SEC should be doing, and it's a lot harder for us because we don't have all the tools that they have, right? In the case of Bed Bath & Beyond, there was the CEO came out and had a turnaround story, and then literally like weeks later they go into bankruptcy, right? Even though they had an alternative route. And in the bankruptcy, the lawyers for the company said that the CEO had no idea what she was talking about and hadn't even been involved with the company in weeks. So, luckily there has been some justice in that area, and hopefully that goes through. But what the reason this is important is, anyone who had a 401k, a lot of these stocks like Bed Bath & Beyond were a portion of that 401k. So when these companies were systematically targeted and cannibalized, it affects everyone, right? Your 401k did not go up, I guarantee, as much as any of these financial institutions, right? They've been making money hand over fist, right? So the thing is that it's crazy to me that we're out here doing the heavy lifting, exposing the crime, trying to get resolutions, trying to fix the things that have been intentionally broken so that the criminals can get away with murder, and yet the SEC, one of my friends actually did a FOIA, and he found out that they made after several different scandals, MMTLP, AMC, GameStop, when they turned off the buy button for GameStop, nothing happened to anyone, right? And instead, what they did, instead of go after the criminals, they paid $500,000 to make videos to make us look bad. The people who are actually doing their job for the American people, they made videos to make us look bad, and then paid lots of money to push it out to everyone, so that everyone, when they hear about this kind of things happening, they don't believe us. They think we're crazy, right? So the thing is that there are a lot of really, really important fights going on, and if you don't know how big the crime is,
all you have to do is a little bit of digging because it's everywhere. I mean, just for instance, right? The whole situation, people, hear GameStop and they're like, oh, that's a meme stock. Well, why is it a meme stock? It's because, there's so many people that the fraud is so glaringly obvious that when you actually look into it, like it really makes you motivated, right? Because with GameStop, it was reported, right? Not all people. So there's a lot going on. That there's you can borrow a share, right? There was reported short interest, right? For every one share that was supposed to exist, there was 3, right? Even just right now, there's an ETF called XRT, which has all the retail stores in it, right? For every one share, there's 3, and it's been that way for 6 years. How is that possible? Why even when a company issues a certain number of shares, someone should be making sure that number is not being inflated double, triple, quadruple, right? So the thing is that there's all this fraud, and none of us would have guessed that the fraud went all the way to the top. We thought that maybe the SEC didn't believe us, but with the recent developments in MMTLP, they found that the collusion actually goes right into the SEC, that they were actually colluding against us, which is unbelievable. And so this deserves a lot of attention, and it's going to help everyone that has a 401k, all of America's companies. And so I'm glad to stand with all these people. Thank you very much.
Hey,
Okay. Next up, we have another veteran, Busy Brands. Come on, Busy.
All right. How's everybody doing? First and foremost, I want to send a big shout out, and I want everybody to say hello. I think they're live streaming this on X Spaces. So 1, 2, 3, say hello, MMTLP. There you go. All right, everyone. So yes, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. Served this country for 5 years honorably.
thank you.
Here I am representing over 200 military veterans, self-reported, so there might be more veterans involved in the MMTLP fiasco. Why do I say this? I served my country honorably. Now I face a battle here fighting my own government. We have the SEC that does not want to give us the transparency that we deserve. What are they hiding? Ask yourself. We've been sitting here for 3 years trying to just get transparency. We know that they pulled the blue sheets. Don't take it from us, the MMTLP investors. We have it via FOIA. And so you have 74 signatures on a document that was signed bipartisan with congressional members. Why is Congress not requesting the blue sheets that we know exist? If we were so wrong, why hasn't the SEC made it extremely clear to Congress, say, hey, these people are wrong, here's the blue sheets, let them go away. But we've been here 3 years fighting, and we're strong. There's one thing people ask me, Busy, Jamie, why do you continue fighting? And I tell them, there's 2 military veterans that took their lives over this. Think about that. 2 veterans took their lives because of this. Now, a lot of the veterans that are stuck in our situation in regards to with MMTLP, they're just getting paid via the VA. Most of them are disabled veterans. When they invested in this stock, they just wanted to make a better life for their families. For example, like myself. That's it. And so now these veterans, like myself, have to stand up for our brothers and sisters who were harmed. And we'll continue to fight until we seek transparency and justice, not only for the veterans that are still alive, but the 2 veterans that took their lives. That's why I'm here. I will not give up on you, and hopefully everybody on the spaces, everybody that took their time out of their daily lives to come here and represent our community. For that, I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Let's keep on fighting. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, you're going to hear from Chris G. Chris, come on up.
Well, well, well. So I'm Chris G. I'm a disabled vet. My background is basically special forces and administrative, retired at 21 plus years. Then I went into the government, of all things. So I have a knack as how this thing works. First and foremost, you know, I'm a husband to a lovely wife. I'm also a father to 2 combat veterans of Afghanistan and Iraq itself. My family is battle tested for everything, combat related. And a lot of you that knew of me, that came out of the so-called closet, right, at 1,000 days. For 1,000 days, I observed this fiasco. And everything I did was I turned to Busy and a couple of the veterans. Whatever they needed from me, they got. Okay? In my eyes, there's only 2 things, right? People either fight or it's flight. Now, you look at somebody that has never ran away from a battle. Never. So after 1,000 days, me and my wife sat down and we talked about this. And my reason was this was just another stock. I've been investing for over 20 years. 50% of Americans have 401ks. That's standard. Depending on your demographics and where you are, could be higher. But we all invest into the market. Now, what I've learned since this time frame is baffling, astonishing that it's happening because it's fraud. It's just a different version of a Ponzi scheme. That's the way I look at it. Okay? Doesn't matter how you cut it, the way you look at it. And my family wants this to be ended soon. So when I came out after 1,000 days, my first thing was, after analyzing for what I do, was build a database. Okay? I'm the one that constructed the MMTLP dashboards. And from there, you have a foundation of what has happened. Timeline, court cases, FOIA documents from our favorite people here. As an example, why is it that the SEC has processed over 34,000 FOIAs from December of 22 to now, which is November of 2025, okay? Which they have released either in full or denied in part, 11.87% to the entire sector. But with MMTLP, why is it we only get 0.8%? Almost 11% difference compared to the entire sector itself. Why is that? You think? And it's like some of the people that we talk to, like last guy, we see a peephole of FOIA documents, a peephole or a pinhole, sorry, a pinhole of FOIA documents. We don't see nothing. But yet the rest of the market gets 11+%. Why is that? And you have to ask a question. You just got to look at the information. This tale is so complex of what has transpired, it would blow your minds. Most people cannot fathom how deep this rabbit hole goes. But as Ann has stated, it's just like silver. It falls hand in hand. And it falls hand in hand with GameStop, AMC, many other tickers out there. It does. Okay? My goal now is to fight this thing to the end of it. Period. I told you that on Spaces. If you don't want to fight, just get out of my way. That's it. We're going to take this to the end. We're going to finish this out where it needs to go, right? Until it's resolved in one fashion or another. Okay? That is it. So whatever I have, I provide freely to anyone that's asking for it. Period. So other than that, Busy, appreciate it. And everyone, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
All right, next up, the amazing Jen Capella. Jen has got an amazing story.
Thank you, Ann. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jen Capella. I never imagined I would be standing here today. Like most Americans, I believed in the U.S. capital markets and that they were fair, that regulators could be trusted, and that when the system failed, our elected representatives would step in and protect the people they serve. We're all here today because those beliefs were proven false. I'm here today to advocate for the senior citizens in the MMTLP community. But first, I want to address a narrative that is constantly used to dismiss retail investors. We've been told we are irresponsible, uneducated, uninformed, reckless, that we are dumb money. That tired narrative is a form of gaslighting, a convenient way to blame retail investors instead of confronting the fraud and corruption that plagues our capital markets. For decades, investing in the American stock market was considered prudent. It's how families planned for the future, how parents how parents built financial security, how people tried to do right by their children. I grew up the youngest of 9 children. My parents invested in the stock market throughout my entire childhood. They made sacrifices so they could invest. They believed the system worked, not perfectly, but fairly. And like many families, we benefited from the investments my parents made. But sadly, that no longer is the case for families investing in today's capital markets. So when people say to retail investors, you shouldn't have invested more money you couldn't afford to lose, what they're really saying is that ordinary Americans should not expect fairness in their own markets. That when fraud happens, it's somehow our fault. And that we should just simply accept it. In reality, we are fighting on behalf of shareholders whose only mistake was believing in the American financial system and the people entrusted to run it. What happened to MMTLP was not reckless, it was not a bad bet, and it most certainly was not our fault. This was a corrupt market that allowed overselling and naked shorting and then froze investors in place when the severity of this situation became known. And when a highly informed, determined, grassroots group of investors from across the country and around the world came together to ask questions, to do research and apply pressure, the system shut down questions instead of providing answers. They circled the wagons to hide the truth. Regulators shut their door, our elected representatives turned their backs, and that is the backdrop of the MMTLP situation and the effort to discredit and silence retail investors. Now let me share with you what it looks like in real life for senior citizens in our community, and I'll start with my mother. My mom is 89 years old and known in the MMTLP community as Grandma Lila. She was born on the 4th of July. She has loved this country her entire life. Patriotism isn't something she talks about, it is how she has always lived. She believed deeply in the rule of law and in the idea that elected officials exist to serve and protect the people they represent. When her investment was frozen, she did exactly what seniors are to do. She asked for help. She called the FINRA senior helpline twice. And when she mentioned that she was calling about MMTLP, they hung up on her. She went to the Idaho Department of Finance looking for guidance. She was handed an SEC brochure titled A Guide for Seniors, How to Protect Yourself Against Investment Fraud. Think about that. She wrote simple handwritten letters to her representatives and to members of Congress, and she never received a single response back. And that is how the American senior is treated when she asked her government for help. Across the entire retail investor community, seniors have story after story just like hers. 3 years ago, when my mom made her investment in MMTLP at 86 years old, she still had the physical ability and energy to travel. But today, at 89, she no longer does. At that stage of life, the difference between 86 and 89 is enormous. It's a lifetime. When regulators stall, delay, and hide behind phrases like ongoing investigations, it's simply a delay tactic. And time is something that seniors simply do not have. There are seniors in this community facing serious health challenges, real financial hardships, real fear. People who invested carefully late in life and now live under constant uncertainty and stress. This should never have happened to them. This is not about money. It is about what happens when regulators and elected leaders protect powerful players, hedge funds, market makers, insiders, and Wall Street billionaires. While everyday Americans are told to wait, accept your losses, or just simply go away. It is about a system where regulators seem more concerned with protecting each other and their future employment prospects on Wall Street than protecting the public they are supposed to serve. If those decisions were truly justified, they would not fear transparency. If those actions were something to be proud of, a false share count would not be refused. And if elected officials truly worked for the people, they would not ignore seniors who have been asking for help for more than 3 years. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for the truth. We're asking for accountability. And we are asking for markets where hardworking Americans are not blamed for simply investing. We're not reckless. We were betrayed. And we are not going away. Thank you. I guess.
Okay, folks, coming up next is Juan 93212.
Good morning. My name is Juan. 3 years ago, December 8th, I experienced something that was very difficult, not only for me, but for many people. My circumstance was completely different. At that moment that I thought of, my child was on the verge of, I was very close to losing my child with a health issue, a very severe health issue. I was going through a divorce. I nearly lost my finances, and I was alone. I felt so abandoned and confused. My money being frozen, the hardships that I could see in the future happening with my child's health. Space has provided me a space to communicate, to associate, to belong. One night, as my child was recovering from a surgery that I didn't know she was gonna make it through, she survived, but I had so many emotions that I could not speak to anybody because I had nobody that understood my situation. I let my story be known that night, and I received so much support from random strangers all over the world. That support comforted me and allowed me to get through that moment. Along that path, I started receiving many messages from other investors throughout the world and their circumstances of why they invested in MMTLP, NextBridge, Torchlight, from the beginning, for their children, for their spouses, for the future, the dreams that they had to expand their businesses, our veterans. Everything was halted. 3 years have passed by, and yet we're still stuck. There are so many stories here that have bonded us together with so much trauma, so much abuse, so much neglect. Our health has deteriorated. The amount of stress is unbearable. The circumstances, the suicidal ideations, the fear, the families that have been broken, the arguments, people that are homeless, people that are living in their cars. Why? Because they believed in something to provide a better life for their family members. We're here. We don't want to be here. This should have never happened to us. Our time has been taken away. We will never regain that. We will never regain our health as we had it planned. We've lost members that are no longer here with us. We're just speaking the facts of what have happened to every single individual that is a shareholder of MMTLP. My brothers and my sisters, this is a family. Whether we like it or not, we have stuck together side by side, encouraging one another, being there for one another to edify and to encourage each other to not lose hope. We are here because we have a belief that we will not fail, that we will prevail. For every shareholder of MMTLP that continues to struggle and may have doubt, we're here united with so much conviction with so much hope and inspiration that we will not leave. We will get louder. We will let every politician that has not allowed us to voice, to help us. We've pleaded with you. There are many people that are suffering so bad, they need this resolved. They cannot afford to find other ways to make it another day. There are many people that are dying right now with cancer, that have been hospitalized, that have gone through so much trauma to the point that they've been have to go through hospitalization just to restable them. Alcoholism, substance abuse. They made no choice to be in that position, but because of life struggles and the lack of coping skills, we have to find a way to manage to be able to make it one more day. But I think the members of X, the people that have been our champions to voice, to align themselves with us, to amplify our voices, I thank you for being so brave and bold and allowing our voices to be heard, because it's just not my story. It's all of the people that are here, that believe in their families, that believe in themselves. You did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong, and we will not leave until we get fair justice for all of us. We need a resolution for every single shareholder immediately. I urge you, please, whoever can do anything for us, hear our story.
Thank you, Juan. Congress, we need a referral, criminal referral to the DOJ. That's the message. DOJ, we have all the evidence. We've done the legwork. This group here has it all. It's an easy slam dunk indictment. Next up, Rowena Mashma, please. There you are.
Good morning. I'm Rowena Mochman, and my family is a victim of MMTLP. Here's my story. While I was attending to my mom, who suffered from brain aneurysm, and while she was fighting for her precious life, FINRA did the unthinkable. FINRA issued the U3 halt, preventing trading and immediately freezing our assets. So this unthinkable, nefarious U3 halt, think about it, we're in despair. I'm so emotional right now because I could still remember the time. I didn't know what to see, whether to look at this or, really attend to my mom. Obviously, I have to attend to my mom. But while these things are going on, we needed funds. So I came and called my broker about my funds, and I was told it's zero. From a lot of this much to, they told me is, sorry, we can't help you. Called everyone, Merrill, all the brokers, because I have them, Schwab, TD Ameritrade. And it was very shocking because at the time we needed most our hard-earned funds. We could not access our accounts. So today, I stand in front of the Securities Exchange Commission advocating for market fairness, regulatory accountability, and transparency. I strongly urge FINRA, the SEC, DTCC, OTC, FIF, the Department of Justice, the U.S. Congress, our President Donald Trump, our Vice President J.D. Vance, and the Department of Government and Efficiency to take heed. Hear our plea for justice and resolution to MMTLP fiasco. We, the MMTLP family, MMTLP army, and MMTLP warriors will never give up until we are made whole. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Leo, known as Zing on X. By the way, who's responsible for the beautiful presentation here? Thank you so much, Leo.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you. I want to say last night I came in late, but I'm now able to tell who's who. I'm not going to remember everybody's name, but I really appreciate. There's a lot of people came here from afar, and myself, I drove here 8-9 hours, and to do that, I think shows the stand that this community wants to make. We know that we were wronged, and I'm a Canadian investor, and when I have to read my notes. Sorry, guys. But I'm also representing the international shareholders from around the world who invested in these U.S. markets, believing in fairness, rule of the law, and regulatory oversight. I invested in Torchlight because I felt the assets were there. Like many others, I believed it was a solid investment. My hope was simple and honest, to build something for the future, including education funds for my grandchildren. That future was taken away when MMTLP was halted. My investment was frozen, like many others here. I was left with no answers, no resolution, no timeline. The days and weeks after the halt were extremely difficult financially, emotionally, and mentally. But one thing became very clear very quickly: I wasn't alone. There were tens of thousands of shareholders, families, seniors, veterans, parents, grandparents, all asking the same basic question: what happened and why? For the past 3 years, this community has done everything the regulators had asked us to do. We filed the complaints, we submitted the evidence, we followed the process, we sought help through the SEC and through Congress, and yet every time we turned for transparency, we were turned away. Instead of answers, we were met with silence. Instead of accountability, deflection. Instead of resolution, delay. Over these 3 years, shareholders uncovered the truth ourselves, evidence of regulatory failure, market misconduct, and collusion that should never have been allowed in a fair and transparent market. This is why I'm still here today. This is why we're still here. This is no longer just an American issue. When international investors can have their money frozen indefinitely in U.S. markets without explanation or resolution, it becomes a global trust issue. The U.S. markets depend on international confidence. That confidence has been damaged, not by shareholders, but by the regulators in action. This community has never asked for special treatment. We've asked for one thing only, and that's transparency. It's time to make this right. Not next year, not someday, now. So the families can move forward, so the trust can be restored, and so this never happens again. To anyone, anywhere. Thank you all for coming.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Rick, one of the members of the community known as Number 2 Pencil.
Got that. Hey guys. Hey everybody. Appreciate you being here. It's a big deal for everybody to show up here. So. Yeah. I know almost everybody in the community knows I lost my wife 2 years ago to this. It's really because of this. You know, talk about the theft, and it is theft. Your money just evaporates in an instant. And without the insurance, without the money to pay for specialized cancer treatment, my wife is dead. And she's dead because of this, and I blame them for that. You know, we came into this just like a lot of you. I came in Torchlight in 21. We both made this decision together, 100%. It was on both of us. Thank you. And, you know, we talked, we dreamed, you know, we knew what we had invested in. We did everything right, just like all of you. Everybody here invested, if you invested, you know, in the beginnings, and we knew what we were getting into. Also, we were handed a preferred A share that was illegally put into the OTC markets and traded. And those that bought after the fact, you know, you knew what you were buying. And as Jen said, nobody here, and as everybody's reiterated, we've done nothing wrong. This is all on the SEC, FINRA, you know, a self-regulatory agency with immunity, and you know, we dreamed, and then cancer came, and you know, I lost her to that, and the worst thing in the world. I don't wish it on anybody. Anybody. You take somebody who you is your life, you're one. When you marry somebody, you become one. And when that person's gone, it's 1 + 1 - 1 = 1/2, and it rips a hole in you. And these people ripped a hole in me, and it took away that joy, but that little broken piece. And you know, I'm not a speaker. I'm just here to tell what happened. And Carrie was a part of the community as well. She was active in support. Such the kind, nicest person, loved to death. Everybody loved her everywhere she went. She was a leader, a servant leader, and
Beautiful soul.
yeah, and miss her. I'll never stop missing her. I love her to death. New things have happened in my life, but you know, I'm here to honor her and to tell a story. And these people here, in these organizations, they lack humanity. There's no humanity. It's just numbers on paper. They can't have enough. And all we want is just to live our lives normally. You know, we follow the rules. They don't. They just cover their sins. And I thank everybody, this community. I can't thank everybody enough. I kind of had to disappear a bit because it's just too hard on me emotionally. And so I'm back. And I just encourage everybody to stick with it. We're going to get resolution here, and I thank everybody for reaching out to me and understanding. And I can tell you, it's all good people. We're just people. We're just good. We're Americans, and patriotic. We want to do the right things, and we want those who regulate to do the right things as well. And I guess thank you for picking up. Maureen, thank you so much. Jen, Capella, Busy, all these guys here, you know, keeping this, Jonna, all these people, you can't imagine, 3 years. And I can say from 2021, we're talking about for me, it's over 4.5 years. And this is all consuming. All of you know, this consumes us every day. It's stressful. It affects your health. You know, so I just, you know, say a prayer for everyone, and thank you for the support that you've given to me. And I just want the world to know that people, like you said, suicide, you know, illness, Juan's daughter, they've stolen from us, and we need resolution here, and they need to get their humanity back. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'd like to have the folks from MMTLP please come around. We're going to just gather for a moment of silence and reflect. If anybody wants to join us in that, please come on up here. We want to just take a moment to reflect on those that have been harmed by this, but especially those that lost their lives due to this. And just take a minute up here, and we'll take a moment of silence, and then we're going to hear some closing remarks from my co-founder at American Made Action, Maureen Steele. Everybody come on up. Thank you.
Come on, guys. Make your way over here, everyone.
Get it in.
You guys ready? All right, let's show our respect for those who have been harmed and for those who are no longer here with us because of this MMTLP fiasco.
We love you, Richie.
Harry. Susan. Tony.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And now I'd like to introduce Maureen Steele, who is my co-founder from American Made. Where are you, Maureen? There you go.
Thank you.
once you realize the rules can be rewritten without explanation, without remedy, without consequence, you are no longer participating in a market. You are participating in an ambush. These victims did not live recklessly. They trusted the system. The SEC, FINRA, the regulatory architecture meant to protect ordinary Americans. It chose silence instead of accountability. These folks are not asking for special treatment, but fairness, for the rules to mean something, for their investments back, and for someone, anyone, to admit what happened was wrong. So far, the regulators haven't. But these stories now exist outside their silence, and I'm asking today for all victims that would like their story recorded and compiled in a book on this unprecedented act of agency criminality. Please email me at msteelpa@gmail.com. Let's grow the record of people who did everything right and were still sacrificed to institutional convenience. These people are not invisible. These people are the evidence. And the longer this goes unanswered, the more obvious it becomes. The harm wasn't accidental. It was absorbed deliberately by people least able to carry it. This is not market failure. This is a moral one. So we are asking Congress to act and refer to the DOJ. Like Ann said earlier, we have all the evidence and the receipts. We will do a half-hour Q&A now. God bless you all, the MMTLP family, and our great country.
We're going to now take questions. If anybody has questions, I see some folks in the press here, but we're open for anything, and I may not be the person responding, but we certainly have people who can. Do we have any questions? Anybody? Brave souls in the press? Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody coming today. Thank you so much for your time. This is such an important story. This story, the MMTLP story, isn't just a one-off, as you've heard. It has impacted companies in this country over and over, including True Social's TMTG. They have withstood and have fought back on the naked short selling. This is out in the open. You guys are the tip of the spear right now, and this fight is only getting more and more loud, and we are going to be more and more vocal, and we're going to be more direct with our members of Congress. We've already had some words this morning with various members of Congress that they're very interested in this story, and they want to dive into it. And we're dropping a package off at the Department of Justice after this press conference with details, and there's much more to come. This is not a one-off. I don't walk away and abandon. For those that know me in this for the last 10 years, no, that's not my style. And with Maureen Steele at my side, we are going to make sure this story is bigger and bigger and bigger, and it will help every company and every investor around the world that has been impacted horribly by the practice of naked short selling. And I will say this, their practices are coming home to roost. For those banks that sold silver short, they're in trouble. You're going to see some things shake up. So this story's timing is very, very important. And I just want to thank the MMTLP community for their incredible adoption of me and Maureen into the family, and being so organized and so cohesive, and showing the country and the world, frankly, what America's about, our resolve, and how we are coming together to govern. Because we're going to tell these corrupt agencies who's boss. Right. Who's boss, everybody? Yeah. We are. They answer to us. And this agency is, is basically just stuff made up. It's a for-profit corporation, and they're working with a regulatory, independent body, FINRA, that is not a government agency, to use them as arm's length buffer to protect themselves here at the SEC from the crimes of what they did to MMTLP and other companies in this country. Thank you all for coming today. God bless you all. I appreciate you, and have a great morning. Thank you.